Welcome to the Lady the F Up podcast, the ultimate space for women navigating health, wellness, and balanced living. Each episode explores everything from practical weight loss strategies and empowering exercise tips to mental health, self-care, and thriving in your everyday life. Whether you're looking to build healthier habits, stay motivated on your fitness journey, or carve out time for yourself in a busy world, this podcast inspires and guides you every step. Join us each week as we chat with experts, share relatable stories, and offer actionable advice to help you feel your best inside and out. Let's dive into today's episode and start embracing your healthiest, happiest self. Welcome back to the Lady the F Up podcast, episode number 20, where we bring you the most inspiring stories, expert advice, and a little motivation to help you crush your goals. Today, a truly special guest is joining us. Another Lady the F Up coach, Coach Mal, a standout expert in the fitness industry and a dedicated coach who's been transforming lives. And speaking of transformations, one of her clients recently achieved something incredible, winning the prestigious Lady the F Up Woman of the Year award. Mal has been instrumental in helping people reach their peak physical and mental performance. And today we'll dive into the mindset, the strategies, and dedication it takes to coach someone to such an extraordinary achievement. Welcome to the show, Mal.
Hi, Deb. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I really appreciate it because sometimes I have to think up stuff to do, and I'm like, you know what? Having Mal on will be so great because she's got, so many achievements under her belt and she can share what she did. And so thank you.
Of course. I look forward to this conversation.
Yeah. Okay. So why don't you just tell us a little bit like how you first got into coaching and what inspired you to take this path?
Absolutely. So, I've actually always been a coach since I was able to, like my first job, I was 15, I was coaching gymnastics. So, I've had a history of coaching in different disciplines, but always working with people. And I don't know at what age I kind of was like, I never envisioned myself working a 9 to 5 job, but after coaching from the age of 15 to about, I want to say, I think it was about 22, I was like, I had enough of that environment. So I went into working at a law firm in an office doing a 9 to 5, very different dress code, but being in that environment, I had that experience, and I didn't feel that same type of passion in the career that I was currently in. So, I always like to say that Hammer Fitness or coaching found me when it comes to Lady the F Up. I met Amber in 2012, and I started out as a competitor and then transitioned into doing things with the brand and the back end for a number of years. And I think just because I believed in the brand so much and in the community, both Rima and Amber had seen that over the years. And so I was offered the opportunity to become a Lady the F Up coach. Obviously sprung at the opportunity just because it was such a passion of mine to, you know, help and work with people. And I think for me, with my history, which I've touched upon it, briefly through some of our community chats we've had, but being somebody who was a victim in my own life, feeling like I didn't have any control, I wanted to be able to, and being able to overcome that myself, I wanted to be able to give that back to women who feel trapped in their own life in whatever capacity, and being able to help them become strong and empowered so that they don't have to live that way anymore. So I think for me, that's kind of how I became a Lady the F Up coach, but I've always loved working with people and helping people.
Yeah, that's a very organic trans transformation for yourself career-wise. It's funny, as you were talking about being a coach from gymnastics at 15, I was like nodding because I was like, so did I. I remember writing the Ontario Gymnastics Federation level one coaching certification at 15 and being told we can't give you your certificate until you're 16.
Yeah.
they still let me coach. And then writing my level 2 at 20, and it put me through university, but I was the same. I was like, I want out of this gym environment. I'm gonna go work in an office and wear high heels and wear the clothes.
Really, same thought.
Oh my God. Honestly, Mal, everybody under those fluorescent lights were so unhealthy, so unhappy. I use my friends at work, I used to go stand outside with them when they have a smoke break. Because
Yeah.
like these are my friends, like I didn't last for more than a couple years because it was like, no, can't do
Yeah,
that.
I worked in that industry. I mean, working in the law firm, I worked in the personal injury, and we worked for like we weren't the side of the insurance companies, we were the side of the clients. So, in
Okay.
that capacity, I was still working with people, but it was the office environment. I think that I was like, I want to be able to do more and get more of a return than the type of work that I was in with it. And so, like, by the end, I had had enough of like, I was, just not, it wasn't for me. And I knew I couldn't do this for the next 20, 30 years. Like, this wasn't something that I was going to be able to do long term.
No, and fair enough, fair enough. So how do you keep your clients motivated on tough days?
So I think something that works for me as a coach, and it honestly comes naturally, is there's a hybrid between being empathetic and understanding to them why they're feeling the way that they're feeling, but also, giving them tough love about why they're feeling the way that they're feeling. So I think, also allowing them to know that it's normal to feel this way, especially when you're making very large lifestyle changes and you are going to have harder days, but always reverting back to why are you doing this in the first place? Why did you choose to get healthier or, work with me? And then, kind of having them and reflect about that kind of helps them push forward. And then, I always hear the feedback. I'm so glad that I went to the gym even if I was exhausted, didn't feel like it because it was one of the best workouts I had, and I feel incredible today. And it motivated me to get out of that kind of mental space that I was in that day or week that I had.
I think those are really good points. People will often ask me, what's the best client to coach? Or do you have a certain type of client that you like to coach? And I always sort of stare at somebody blankly, like, well, that's not what coaching is. Like, it's not picking the right person. So it's, yeah, I always want a client that's compliant and does what what we've set out for them to do. But it sounds to me like you're really good at adapting your approach to your clients depending on what they need.
Well, of course. And I think all of us coaches, Lady the F Up coaches do that. And I think that's why we're so unique in being successful with the women that we work with, is just because, you know, yes, a person that does everything you say is going to achieve results the fastest way possible, potentially. But are those even the clients that we want to work with, in the sense that our goal is to help people change their current situation? So, yeah, sometimes there are going to be people that are more adherent than others. However, the gift that we're giving clients is being able to take whatever environment that you were currently in, what you were in before, what your lifestyle is like, and being able to work with them so that they are able to move through their, fitness process and be successful on the way on the end part, and then sustain that progress. So I think that's something that we all are very, very good at doing.
I agree. I agree. And when I was saying about, being compliant, it's, sometimes people don't know what to do, but they're at that lowest point where they're like, I'll do anything you tell me to do.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations with people that I when they're telling me, "Oh, I don't want to give up my Nutella sandwich." And I'm like, "Okay, ever? No." And then I've said, okay, you know what? When you're so sick and tired of where you are, that that sandwich means nothing to you, that's when we need to have this conversation again.
Yeah.
Because, I you also I feel like I'm not good with somebody that can't sort of expand the horizons. But I mean, if that was just the one thing, I could work around that. But
Well, I think Deb, what I find were had, how I approach it with certain people that aren't willing to give certain things up is that I like to reiterate, you are an adult. I'm never going to tell you no to do something. If you're asking my advice, I'm going to highly go against it based on what your goals are. And then I'm like, you know what, if you want to have, for example, the Nutella sandwich, that's your use your discretion. But then when we check in, if you are not progressing the way that you want to, then think about the choices you made week leading up to it. So I'm like, as long as you are okay with those choices and you're not regretful,
right,
then great. So, and I find sometimes, because I know I'm like this, is that when I was growing up, my parents or any was like, don't do this, you're going to burn your hand. Don't do this, you're going to burn your hand. Don't touch the stove. And I'm like, but what happens if I touch the stove a little bit? Maybe I'm not going to burn my hand. I burn my hand. I'm like, shit, you know what? I am not going to be touching the stove anymore. So I find sometimes clients need to experience that as well. And once they, you know what, Mal? I had Nutella sandwiches for 3 days in a row. My stomach is in shambles. I'm actually disgusted by eating those. I don't want it anymore. And I'm like, okay. So sometimes, they have to learn that way and it's okay. But
exactly. No, I think that's good. And you really answered my next question that I was going to ask you, like, what is your approach with clients, and coaching them? So that's a good segue into because you achieved something with a client this year. I mean, you've achieved a lot of things. I think it's really important to put that out there. You didn't just have one success story with your client who won Lady the F Up Woman of the Year. You've had a lot of great transformations and in the challenges, winning, first, second, third places. So I want to make it very clear that yes, your client won sort of the highest award that we give Lady the F Up at our gala, but you've done lots of things that didn't garner an award. And I think it's important to point that out because the work that you do every day is fantastic. You're very well loved. I went skating last week for a Lady the F Up event and skated the entire 75 minutes with one of your clients who was just telling me her whole story and how you've changed her life and how much she loves you and respects you. So I anyone listening to this podcast, I want them to know like Mal didn't just win this award and then just kind of do mediocre work. Her work is amazing across the board. So why don't you tell a little bit about your client who did win Woman of the Year and what made her journey special?
So Lee, for anyone that is listening who knows Lee personally, she is like a sparkle. When you see her, she's absolutely beautiful inside and out. But I think for me, what was really special is how we connected again. So I actually used to coach her daughter in gymnastics. She was one of my athletes for a number of years. And, I straight up had favorites and she was my favorite. So it was no secret. I mean, I didn't tell like the kids didn't know that, but like all the coaches, my coworkers, whatever. But so it was nice that she, I had coached her daughter and she had got her daughter to reach out to me, like my mom needs help. When I met her, she was struggling just all around, aside from her self-esteem, she was in pain, a lot of soreness and, health issues, a lot of gut issues. So just a lot of things that needed to be addressed in order to get her to her end goal with her body physically. So I think I had let her know. And one of the biggest things that had allowed her to be successful where she is today is because she was at a point where she's like, I will trust this process. I will listen to you. Just tell me what to do. However, with anything that you're doing or anybody that is doing something different, you're going to have doubt or questions. why are you, and I always was very good at educating her at why we're doing certain things. And I said, you have been somebody who has chronically dieted her entire life. So going from your 20s up until 56, dieting, not eating, trying all this like nonsense, thinking that this was right because, you see it on social media or the new fad diets, um, had really impacted not only her digestion, but her metabolism. So we had to spend time reverse dieting, bringing up her calories, managing her stress because one thing that we discovered together, which I think a lot of women don't even realize this can happen to them, is that the stress that she was under directly affected her digestion. So if she had a stressful day at work, might have slept properly, like got her regular hours, but had a bad day at work or something stressed her out, she was bloated. We wouldn't change anything, and her body was holding water. So we had to, spend a lot of time managing stressors and figuring out what was causing her to like stressing her out and not adding more stress to the body. Because as we know, your body doesn't know the difference between what kind of stress is being placed upon it. It just knows it's being stressed. So that means, changing cardio. Maybe you're not doing as much. Maybe you have to do less, where people always think you have to do so much cardio to see changes. So it was a lot of, teamwork when it came to her journey and being able to get to a point where she wasn't so obsessed with the scale because one of her biggest challenges aside from patience, which is majority of women to begin with when we are, doing this process, is the scale. And I talk about the scale a lot. And I know you, Deb, talk about the scale a lot of us. And, it's not that the scale is not important. It's not an important metric because it is a metric that we use that is beneficial. And I still make sure clients use, weigh themselves. However, it's not the only measure of progress. So trying to not let her be so tied to that. And that took I was, every week the same conversation. And it took time for her to recognize, what, like I'm feeling so much better. My body looks better, but the scale is not moving. And, reiterating that when you're doing body recomposition, the scale is not always going to move. And that's not an issue as long as your body is responding.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, and so I was going to ask you, but you answered it beautifully. I was going to ask you, when did you realize that maybe she had the potential to, achieve her goals? And I think you answered that by saying when she started to let go of her obsession with the scale.
Honestly, yeah. I would say when I was like, Lee, like one of it was like she wanted her hips to be smaller, wanted to look muscular, feel stronger. I'm like, Lee, you're not in pain anymore. She used to have issues with her hip all the time, hip
Oh,
pain every day. And for anybody that has any kind of chronic issue, especially as you get older, but any kind of chronic lower body pain, it's annoying. Like you're irritated all the time from it. I was like, Lee, you're never in pain anymore.
right.
Your butt looks better because that was one that we were really, working on. But your abs are coming through. Who cares what the scale says? And she, you know what? Now she weighs more than she did when she first started with me, but
Wow.
she looks way better. She looks like she
Yeah.
lost 30 pounds, but it's because, I think sometimes people forget that if you are like 50% body fat, even if you're a smaller person,
Yeah,
you're gonna weigh less, you know?
exactly.
So
Exactly. I mean, muscle weighs something. So when you're putting it on, you have to accept that. And when you've been so tied to the scale, like I have clients that'll say to me, I worked with other coaches, not in our company, but other companies, and they made me feel badly about the scale. And I said, that's because they don't have the right tools in their toolbox. That was the only thing that they knew how to do. So you have to, feel good that if you're working with a Lady the F Up coach, our toolboxes are massive. And not only do we each have a large toolbox, we share our tools. So, and I've seen Lee at the gym when you're training her. Just for the record, she has gorgeous shoulders and arms too.
yes, I'm very proud of her muscle definition. She's right now we are prepping for a photo shoot, but at her leanest was she did do a challenge, which she really absolutely loved the challenge. She wanted me to push her, like I was pushing a 20-year-old, and I said, as long as we're managing your stress, we can manipulate you. However, but one thing she said during the challenge, which like I really loved, was like she took her daughter to the gym and she's like, Mel, she's like, I was kicking Michaela's butt when I was training. She was like, Mom, how are you doing this workout? Or like, Mom, how are you on the stairs this long? She's like, Michaela could not keep up. And she's like, my daughter is 21 years old and I am 57 and I am doing way more than her. And my endurance and everything is way higher. And I was like, that was a big turning point, I think, watching her journey where she was so happy at how much her strength and just physically fit she felt compared to when she first started.
No, I think that's a beautiful story. So, how did she react when she won? Did she share with you what her first thought was, or how did she feel? Like I remember watching her
Yeah.
at the gala, but
Honestly, after we talked about it, after for those who didn't watch, I posted it online or who didn't attend the gala, she was honestly in shock, like absolute shock. Her sister came and was watching, and she like was screaming and like so happy. And I'm a baby when it comes to things like this, so I was obviously getting emotional, but um, she just was in absolute shock. Like she just could not believe that she had won, and I had just said to her, it's not like you were trying to win some kind of award with your
no,
journey. But your connection to, yourself and the community. Like one thing that I think a lot of other coaches noticed and clients is how friendly and welcoming she is with other people.
100%.
She listens to all the Mind Builder podcasts. She loves listening to them. She loves any kind of community events. I've asked her if she could speak, to the community. No problem, Mal, like whatever you need. Very involved. And I think, she always says, like, you saved my life. Like, this has been a life-changing experience. And I will forever be grateful for what you've done for me and my family. And I'm getting emotional talking about it. But just because, that's why I do what I do, to see somebody, completely change, going into 60 and being able to feel like they're reliving a better version of their life later in life, means so much to not only us as women and, what we do in the community, but just for others who struggle, to be able to feel like that. So she just she was in shock and just very grateful that she was chosen to win this award.
Think you made a really good point just now about women that are late 50s going into 60. Um, there's if we're lucky in life, we get about 4,000 weeks. And you get to 60, like myself. Although Lee did point out at the gala that she's only
Not
59,
yet.
and she goes, and you're older than me, Deb.
I know.
Love, I
But
have to
Deb,
say I loved it.
I hope that I look like you when I'm 60 and have as much energy and, as badass as you are
Well,
at 60
thank you.
years
But
old,
but it does play on your mind, and you aren't able to do some of the things you could do when you were younger. Like even me being fit, I
Yeah,
need more sleep. Um,
yeah,
I, I can't eat the way I used to. I can't go to bed with like a big full stomach and expect to wake up with my stomach's perfectly flat like I could even like in my 40s or early 50s. Like these are really stupid things to comment on, but it's because I've kept myself healthy. And what you've done for Lee is you've reverse engineered her life. Like you've reverse aged her. And I think that anybody that's listening that thinks that at 55, 65, or even 75 or 85, it's too late. It's never too late. I mean, you don't have to win awards to reap the benefits.
yeah.
Was there one thing about her journey that listeners are listening right now that they could apply to their own success?
I think something I would say is that your journey, whatever stage of life you're in, is unique to you. So be your most authentic self when you are, going through your journey, when if you're working with a coach, trusting your coach because they are going to get you where you need to be and not being so stressed about your, immediate results and embracing your process one day at a time and appreciating what your body is doing for you one day at a time. Because if you are authentic in what you are doing, other people will notice. So, it's not like I told her, oh, all the other coaches are saying, Lee is incredible. I never told her anything like that, but we talked about it, right? So even if coaches aren't saying anything, or even if, your coach isn't saying anything, people are noticing. And that is the kind of, energy that you want to put out into the world when you are doing your journey, because you're going to get a lot back in return. And I honestly think that because she was so focused on herself and her process and just what the community gave to her, gives to her, that's why, she is as successful as she is today.
No, like everything you just said was like such good advice. I think that, women sh I hope they were listening and taking note of that about being honest about their goals and really focusing in on their own process. Okay, I want to do something a little fun. I want to
Okay.
ask you rapid fire questions.
Oh, do I have to answer in 5 seconds or I can think about the question?
No,
I
you
get
get
like
two
rapid fire,
seconds.
like ding, 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 ding. Okay.
2 seconds. Okay, they're easy though. Okay. For you, morning workouts or evening workouts?
Morning.
Coffee or green juice?
Green juice.
Burpees or lunges?
Lunges.
What's your favorite guilty pleasure type of snack or food?
For everyone that knows me, it is bread and butter. Fresh
Really?
bread. Yeah, fresh bread and butter. I have, yeah, that would be, I would say, my guilty pleasure snack.
Okay. And if you had a superpower as a coach, what would it be?
To control people's emotions.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. So for people who are listening and they want to achieve their own Woman of the Year moment, what would be their next step?
I would say, are they a current client or somebody thinking to become a client?
Good, good question. And do you have any exciting projects or goals on the horizon for yourself?
I would say that for me, just continuing to educate myself to become a better coach. I'm always, wanting to, I'm always a work in progress, whether it's physically or, educationally. So just trying to continue to educate myself to be able to service my clients a lot better. Like personally, I don't know. I might do a photo shoot later in this year, but we'll see. Just focusing on enjoying training with intent and, continuing to work on my physique. But in terms of coaching, just continuing to be better for the women that I work with.
Oh, that's amazing. So if you were a Disney character, who
Oh.
would you be and why?
Oh.
I ask everyone this.
Um, Maybe I would be Olaf because he's funny and he's cute.
Yours is as good as mine. Mine's the teapot.
Oh, the Mrs. Mrs. Teapot, or yeah.
Yeah, in Beauty and the
Yeah,
Beast.
yeah, yeah.
I'm the teapot.
Happy Olaf. It's funny.
Oh, that's
Like to
cute.
make people laugh.
Yeah, well, that's good. You know what? That's Magda Ariel.
Oh yeah. She's
Right?
actually my favorite Disney princess. But yeah, I have a thing about some of the early years of the princesses where they're all damsel in distresses, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't
same.
my
Yeah,
favorite.
same.
Funny.
Yeah, I feel like I'm too old and too crusty for that. Like I'm not, I can't pull it off. Sorry. I'd rather be a Dalmatian, you
Yeah.
know? So I would like to point out that anyone listening that wants to work or connect with you, they can find you on Instagram. It's underscore Coach Mal.
Coachmal dot
Yeah.
M
Dot
underscore
M.
underscore, and it's MAL, not MEL.
And at
Sometimes.
the bottom of the show notes, I also have the Instagram account. And if you didn't catch what I just said and don't feel like going to the show notes, go to Lady the F Up on Instagram and you can send a direct message. And the people that are managing that account will always connect you with Mal. We connect all the coaches to people if they can't find our Instagram account. But Mal, I want to really thank you for doing this today. You made it lots of fun and great content, and you look beautiful.
Oh, so do you.
You. Which, yeah, I actually used a curling iron today.
Went for the natural air dry today.
Well, it looks nice. It
Thanks.
looks good. It's
Yep.
kind I thought, oh, this is kind of fun. Like I don't really get dressed up for work. I always wear my uniform and try to look neat and tidy. But for
No, it
you,
looks really nice. Thank
for you,
you.
I put on makeup.
I feel so honored.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And any feedback that anybody has, please feel free to leave it below or Instagram us directly. And thanks again.
Thank you for listening. Bye.